What's up, everybody? It is Saturday morning. We got some big games to talk about, Chris. We got two NFL games. We got some big game here in Ann Arbor, big college hoop game, Michigan State. But before we get into that, got to bring you in here, my man. How's it going, bud? Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me once again. And I'll tell you and everybody else that's watching this, I really appreciate the gift that you sent me. The mail was signed to Beastie, right? And so Beastie, I opened it with her in the room, and there was nothing for the cat. So now she's pissed. I'm cool. I'm happy. I got a T-shirt and some other swag and stuff. But now Beastie is walking around really pissed off. I sent you the photo of her face where she was like this. She's not happy,
Yeah.
Scott. You got to make it right with her, man. I'm telling you.
I know. I don't want to be, man. That's a pretty evil look. I got a cat myself. I think I even sent it back to you and said, man, looks like she's
Gonna
about
light
to
you
light
up.
you up. Yeah, got that eye. I
Yes.
mean, when their eyeballs get big and that tail starts wagging, it's like, oh man, you better watch out because my cat, it pretty much is an asshole. But either way, Chris, yeah, we'll have to see about getting Beastie something over there. Glad you like that T-shirt we sent you, all that other fun stuff. But either way, Chris, we got an exciting day here. Can you believe we're at the final weekend of the NFL regular season, Chris? Where did the time go, man? Unbelievable how fast it flew.
Yeah, like in the blink of an eye. I literally, I'm looking at, if I say, oh, well, last week everybody was excited, on all social media platforms about, oh, fantasy football is here, DFS is here, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And it literally feels like yesterday to me, like the spring and the summer, and boom, just like that, it's just about over. So we've got to prepare now for the NFL playoffs, which is outstanding. But I cannot believe the 2021 regular season football season is done. We waded through a lot of crap here to get to the point that we're at here. So, I'm happy with the direction I'm going. I'm happy the direction Woodward Sports is going, but it just happens so fast. You literally have to kind of shuck and jive, on the move here, just constantly moving, and bam, before you know it, you go to bed a couple times, you wake up, it's that 2022, it's January, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, that cold weather definitely reminding us it's January. But Chris, I mean, here you and I know we talked before season long started, and you get everybody's so hyped up for all these drafts, your season long drafts and the best ball drafts and all that. Chris, who would be the biggest disappointment for you in this past season for fantasy football? Like, who was the guy that you could say was the biggest disappointment?
It's Allen Robinson for the Chicago Bears. I went out of my way in a 14-team, dynasty league with full IDP as well, every defensive player position. And I went out of my way to trade for Allen Robinson, I believe in August. Things were going well. They had Fields was, on the field, and he's playing. Fields is going to be the starting quarterback. He's going to bring this Chicago Bears offense to new heights. So, again, I went out of my way, probably overpaid a little bit for Allen Robinson. And here we are. I think the guy scored one touchdown all season. He hasn't had anything over, I believe, 70 yards, and even that's being a little ambitious. I don't think he's had over 35 receiving yards, 5 games, but he's missed a whole handful. I mean, it's just nonsense. It stinks. And again, I'm not putting him down. I know it was a ton of injuries, and we know now Matt Nagy, the Chicago Bears coach, will not be back. This weekend is his last game as the head coach there after winning head coach of the year a few years back here, but he's dealt with some injuries. He's been on the IR, on the COVID list. And again, I hate putting words in people's mouths, but, this is Woodward Sports. You asked my opinion here. Could we see A-Rob, Allen Robinson, he's a Detroit guy, so all of their Cas Tech, I believe, something along those lines here. But could we see an Allen Robinson here this season the same way Kenny Golladay was last season? Did he over embellish his hip injury? Did he give up on his team? And then he goes to the Giants and gets paid and hasn't done dog crap for the Giants. But Allen Robinson, it's tough to say that about a guy you like, you kind of know, and he's a good man. He's a Detroit native. I mean, so people here in Detroit, we're tough. We don't give up, right? We don't say, you know what, the team isn't good. I'm a little sore. I'm going to kind of embellish this and I'm not going to play. I would like to think Allen Robinson wouldn't do that, but look at the Chicago Bears team. They're an absolute mess. Justin Field, who knows what the heck is going to happen in the next few seasons. However, if you look back this time last year, Allen Robinson was a big free agent, and instead he took that 1-year tender. He took the salary tag or the salary tax to play with Chicago this one season. I believe salary tag is like you combine the top 5 wide receivers or anybody at that position, and boom, you get that lump sum of money. So Allen Robinson, I believe, made 17 or 18 million this year, but again, he's a free agent again. There's just no way he goes back to Chicago this season. So I'm looking forward to seeing Allen Robinson in the future on the field and active in my fantasy team. But to me, Scott, Allen Robinson was my biggest, not mistake. I don't want to say it was a mistake. I look forward to future years with him, but he was the biggest letdown for me in 2021 in the fantasy season.
Yeah, I know that's something, I was kind of looking at. I always kind of look back at like the draft. I like to go back and look at last year's draft and maybe kind of look at, some situations that maybe you can compare to the next year that might help you avoid a landmine. Because to me, Chris, the first round is full of landmines. Every year you can go back and look at your fantasy drafts, and the first round, half the picks are just pure garbage. Do not end up panning out for you. It doesn't matter who they are. But next year, kind of looking, I'm going to assume that a guy like Jonathan Taylor, he's going to be up there. Cooper Kupp, obviously, is going to be up there. But Chris, for me, the guy who let me down the most, and whatever you want to say, whatever reasons why, but Calvin Ridley hurt me quite a bit. I understand his reasonings for being out. So I kind of look at it as an injury. Injury or not, he still did not help me at all with my fantasy teams. Had him all over the place, drafted him quite a bit. I was really high on him this year, but just didn't quite pan out, as we know there, buddy. But CMC is another guy you could probably throw in there. And I heard he even is going to be a free agent next year. So it'd be kind of interesting to see if CMC leaves Carolina and where he could end. Chris, what do you think? Would you want him in a Lions uniform, CMC? What do you think about that?
Well, we got DeAndre Swift, who is, outstanding. He faced some injury, not injury history, but he had some injuries, later on, dislocated shoulder on Thanksgiving, I believe, and hasn't played much since here. So Swift, with Jamal Williams and this offensive line can really get it done in the future. I'm excited to see what Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell can do with their second draft class. The last year, 2021's draft class, they're kind of panning out. We've had some hidden gems here. So season number 2, off season number 2, I should say, with another draft class. Exciting to see. Would I want CMC here in a Lions uniform? Absolutely. But at what cost? It's going to cost you at least a first round pick. The Lions have 2 of them. I believe they have the Rams first round pick. So you're saying you could probably get CMC for both of those first round picks. No questions asked, but it's not a position of need. We need, defensive linemen. We need linebackers so bad. So I would pass on Christian McCaffrey because the cost is so high and the output, it's just not there right now. I think we've seen Christian McCaffrey's best season as a professional football player. And the only reason I say that is because, speaking in fantasy terms, as if you analyze that and you write and you broadcast fantasy terms, I talk like that all the time. Have we seen that player's best season as a professional football player? Meaning they're at the apex, and I'm not saying it's all downhill, but how can they replicate that? Same thing with Cooper Kupp. Phenomenal season this year, and it's still going. We have the playoffs to run through, but can Cooper Kupp kind of put up those same exact numbers next season or again in his career? More than likely, if we look back, I would say no. So to me, I'm all out on Christian McCaffrey just based on cost alone.
Yeah, I think that's a luxury type guy to have. If you're like the Chiefs adding a guy like Christian McCaffrey, yeah, that's something that could, potentially vault you even higher. That to me is like a luxury guy. But Chris, we got 2 games in the NFL today that we're going to pay attention. One at 4:30, we got Kansas City and Denver. This one started out Denver plus 10. Now they're up to 11. 63% of the money's coming in here on the Chiefs here, Chris. But really not much to play for here. But what do you think here? Think the Chiefs roll them over?
Yeah, I'll start with I'll bury the lead, or however you want to put it if you're in the media here. I think Kansas City wins this one 28-13. So if you add the 11 points, you're looking at Denver. The game will finish 28-24 here. So I would still assume that Kansas City would cover here. And again, yeah, there's not much for Kansas City to do here, right? They're 11-5. They've already won the division. There's not too much left to be done. Again, I'd have to look back through it, but at this stage of the season, it's just so overwhelming to look at the playoff picture. This team has to win, and then these three teams have to lose, and then they'll move up a spot in the seeding. I don't think it matters for Kansas City. Do we see Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce the whole game? I doubt that, but again, Andy Reid is a creature of habit, I should say. So I would imagine Pat and the crew here will play at least a half. I could actually see into the third quarter here. But Denver, very stout on defense. If you look back in terms for DFS purposes or seasonal fantasy purposes, DVP, I mention that all the time. You cleared the air on that one last time I was here. Defense versus position here. They're very good across the board. 3rd against quarterbacks, 10th against running backs, 7th against wide receivers, and 2nd against tight ends here. So again, to say Kansas City is going to put up 28 points, that's just not so much because the Denver defense stinks. It's because Kansas City is so dang good on offense and everything they do. To me, if you're going to play the single game slate here today, I would focus on, in my notes, I have little bullet points where I want to attack as I'm looking through the slate, from a 10,000 foot view here. And I'm going to fade the Kansas City running backs. I think Kansas City's secondary options are in play. Secondary options, I mean, like a McCole Hardman or Demarcus Robinson, or even heck, a Blake Bell. I would have no hesitation even playing Harrison Butker here, Kansas City's kicker, 9.5 on FanDuel and even $4,000 on DraftKings. And then I love the Denver wide receivers. When you look at this trio, Jerry Jeudy and Tim Patrick, they have been on the COVID IR at the moment of this broadcast. They've already been cleared. They've already gotten a day in a practice here. So Jerry Jeudy, Sutton, and even Tim Patrick against Kansas City, who's 25th overall against opposing wide receivers here. So of the three, when you look down at this, a lot of folks, when they play DFS, casual fans, they want, Tyreek Hill. They want Jerry Jeudy. Nope, I'm going to stick with Tim Patrick, $7,500 on FanDuel, only $2,800 on DraftKings, and two little betting trends, if I may, not to steal your thunder here, Scott, but the over is 4-1 in Kansas City's last 5 games, and Kansas City is 4-1 against the spread their last 5 games, while Denver 1-4 against the spread their last 5 games. So when you look at this, the over looks a little appetizing, but if you want to play it safe, go Kansas City plus 11 and stack those Denver wide receivers, and boom, that's my plan of attack for this one.
Yeah, I like what you're saying about the receivers there for for Denver. Excuse me. Kansas City has been just beaten up here by receivers lately. We saw what Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and the boys were able to pull off. But this game here, the last time they actually played, they were in Kansas City. Kind of an uneventful game as far as DFS. But today, if you want to play the Saturday slate, you can play either the 2-gamer, or as you mentioned, you could play the single gamer. Just kind of looking here, this game does have the higher over/under of the 2 games at 45, sitting at 45 currently. That Dallas and Philly game sitting there about 43. Kind of uneventful. I mean, generally, we like to attack games that are, 50 or above here. But this game here for me, Chris, I mean, it's just so tough to kind of handicap these games when you really don't know how long some of these guys are going to play, how long they're going to be in there. I mean, they do play, around the same time here as the Titans. The Titans they need to lose. If the Titans lose, the Chiefs do have an opportunity to grab the number 1 seed. I just don't see them losing to the Texans, that being the Titans. So I think the Chiefs here, if they do get out in front, I think there's a situation, Chris, that actually Beer and I spoke about yesterday. This is a day today and this weekend where live betting, I think, and maybe betting on first quarters or first half is something that you really may want to look at if you like certain teams, because at least maybe Mahomes may play the first quarter. Maybe he'll play the first half. If you keep your ears to the ground, you'll get a different line on something like that. And then if that team with Mahomes is ahead, and then maybe you think, well, maybe the other team's still playing their starters, maybe they have a chance, some good live betting opportunities there. But definitely like what you were saying about Jeudy and Patrick. I think if Denver wins, that's the way they're going to have to go. I think Javonte Williams is probably going to get most of the carries today. I have a feeling Jamal Williams for Kansas City probably getting most of those carries on his side. But yeah, Chris, I mean, just kind of looking here at, what we have, or Darrell Williams, I'm sorry. I call him Jamal Williams. Darrell Williams. I think Derek Gore is going to get in there a little bit as well today. But, yeah, Chris, I think this game here could be boring here in the second half. And I think Denver's going to leave their starters in. I think KC is probably going to try to rest Kelce and Mahomes here as this game goes on. But we got two games, Chris, so that's a good thing. So that one's at 4:30. We got this other one here. We have at 8:15. So got a full afternoon of football, and then we get this late game, 8:15. We have the Cowboys traveling to Philadelphia here. That started out at Philadelphia plus 7.5. It's down to 4, Chris. I got to assume it's just because we've already been here in Dallas is probably going to rest some of their players here. We have Philadelphia 68% of the money at this point is coming in here on the Eagles. But what do you think about this one here at 8 o'clock here? Cowboys and Eagles, big division game.
Yeah, this one is exciting. It's more exciting than Kansas City playing Denver here because Dallas at Philadelphia, they're, two NFC East rivals. These two teams have hated each other for a long time. And you get a case here where, I guess I'm saying it, but I don't believe it there, where most folks consider Dallas fans to be just awful. They're always going back and reaching to 96 and 97, and they haven't won a playoff game in so long. They ball out in the regular season, then boom, just to lose in a wild card game, never make it out of the first round. And then the Philadelphia Eagles, if you look around the NFL, they've been long, labeled as one of the worst fan bases of all time in terms of being mean and being rude to other folks when people come to their stadium there. So to me, it's two teams that they absolutely hate each other, two fan bases that hate each other. I wouldn't be shocked. And I'm not saying this because I hope it happens, but I could see a case here where there will be a few fist fights in the stadium here based on Dallas and Philadelphia. And the joy of it all, both teams are already in the playoffs. They've already clinched a playoff spot here. You look at the East, Dallas 11-5, Philadelphia's 9-7. As I've said, they're already in the playoffs. So in a way, this is kind of a free-for-all. These two teams can do as they please to each other with the complement of backups here. So again, as you said, Dak Prescott, how long is he out there? I know I have no issue with it, but we know that nasty, that compound fracture he had in his ankle all the way back to the beginning of last season against the Giants here. We've seen Dak Prescott. He's not really running much anymore, right? He's left that to guys like Kyler Murray or even Patrick Mahomes to a certain standard here. But Dak, 16.5 on FanDuel, $11,200 on DraftKings. I have him highlighted in my notes, but again, when you play this game, you have to take it as it comes. This game is exciting for me from a single game DFS perspective because I'm fully expecting to see a lot of Gardner Minshew. I'm expecting to see a little bit of a sprinkle from Cooper Rush. And then when you talk about the running backs and wide receivers here, it's just a free-for-all. So to me, if you're playing the single game slate tonight, Dallas at Philadelphia, there is literally no rhyme or reason. If you notice here, here's my notes. I have it highlighted in yellow, in blue, but it's all nonsense. I could just light this up in flames right now because, again, I don't know what either coaching staff is going to do. Both teams are in the playoffs. Why are they going to waste Jalen Hurts when he's a little bit banged up or under the weather? So rest your studs here and move on. So to me, it's all about Boston Scott. I absolutely love Boston Scott today here. 12 grand on FanDuel, $8,000 on DraftKings. I'm looking at 12, 13 carries from Boston Scott, 2-3 receptions in this one, but Dallas third overall against opposing running backs. And that's another layer of this thing here in terms of DFS here. I think you can just absolutely throw out DVP matchups here because, again, yes, Dallas is third against opposing running backs, but that's their starting squad. At what point in this game did they start moving personnel out here? So they're third with their starting defensive, with the complements of their defensive line and defensive linebacker. So in the third quarter, it's not going to be starters. So again, you can throw out DVP here. So to me, I would imagine today my notes are just invalid. My opinion is just you can throw by the wayside here because whoever wins $100 grand or $1 million, here today, it's just going to be a complete nonsense. A 3-4-year-old child can pick your lineup for you and go from there. So the more I talk about it and the more notes I do, the sillier I get because there is no rhyme or reason to Dallas and Philadelphia tonight. Just sit back, rest, and relax. Maybe, as you said, Scott, some live betting, just some first quarter, first half over-under stuff here.
Yeah, there I go, Chris. I had the stinking mute button on, rookie move. But the what you're talking about here with Dallas and Philadelphia, both teams have been affected by COVID. The big one in this game, Chris, Micah Parsons is going to be missing for Dallas. I mean, this kid is incredible. He's on the COVID list. And then you mentioned Scott. looks like all the running backs and tight ends for Philadelphia are on this COVID list. Don't believe they're going to get to play today. Have not heard anything otherwise up to this point. So it looks like to me Gainwell is really the only running back that they have available in this spot. But for me, it looks like Jack Stoll could be playing tight end instead of Dallas Goedert for Philadelphia. But if this is the case, no Micah Parsons, I mean, there's just too many pieces here in this game that are missing, as you mentioned. How long are they going to play a guy like Jalen Hurts? Are they going to go to a Minshew? Are they going to sit these guys? Dallas now, on the other hand, Jerry Jones said in an interview, we're playing to win. We're going to play our starters. Now, I kind of tend to believe Jerry Jones a little bit more than I believe McCarthy, but we'll see what happens. We get out there. If one of these teams gets up, I could see the other team just mailing it in, throwing in their reserves and calling it a day. But, Chris, I think this one is tough to kind of gauge. We really don't know what's going to happen here. But if I was to bet anything, like I said, I'm going to be looking at first quarters, maybe half times more this week than a normal week just because of all the uncertainty for full games here. But we'll get to some best bets as the show gets toward the end here. But, Chris, we got a big game here in Michigan that we're going to pay to. Now, it's not as important as on the football field, Chris, but this one is on the hardwood. We got MSU going to Ann Arbor today for some basketball. At the time, the Michigan is -1 over at Bet Rivers, at 108 over under here. I just don't see how Michigan, they've been struggling mightily here, Chris. Michigan State had won 8 in a row here. So, Michigan State has just been playing really well. I know Izzo really likes that team of his down there. Michigan is still a pretty good team, but just been struggling. Just lost to Rutgers. Losing to Rutgers is terrible. The first time Rutgers ever beat them. So, is this a spot here where is Michigan State, is this too much for them to go in Ann Arbor? You look at what the spread may be on the other side here as a home team getting that little bump. So, I think Michigan State, really, truthfully, I'm a Michigan fan. I've got my Michigan stuff on here, Chris, but I'm not going to bet on this one here. But if I had to, I think I would lean the Spartans here in this case.
Well, I'll tell you a quick story. I won't keep us here all day. So when I was a boy, right, you watch Michigan State, everything, basketball, hoops, even women's floor hockey, whatever the heck it was. And I believe I was like 10 or 12 years old watching the Michigan State football game on Channel 7. And one of these guys said, well, when these two teams play in a rivalry game, you can throw out the record. None of that matters. The personnel doesn't matter. The coaches don't matter, because when they get together, it's just fireworks. Doesn't matter. The record doesn't matter, the momentum here. And I never realized what that meant. So I'm 10 or 12, and at 14, 15, I'm in high school, and I hear it again, and it finally clicked. Maybe my brain is just that way. I always tend to learn lessons the hard way, but I'm going to equate that here. Michigan State, Michigan basketball in Ann Arbor here. Again, doesn't matter what team is playing better, what team is kind of down and out. Doesn't matter what the football team does. Doesn't matter that the college bowls and football and all this stuff. When two teams like this get together on the court, on the gridiron, on ice hockey, it doesn't matter. You can kind of throw that out. Now, again, this doesn't, go with all rivalries. You know what I mean? Michigan State, Michigan, you can count that. Army, Navy, big time rivalries like that. Green Bay playing against the Chicago Bears. Some of that stuff doesn't matter. But here, Michigan State and Michigan playing whatever sport, when they face each other, all that stuff goes through the window, right? Juwan Howard is Michigan's coach. Izzo is there for State. He's just a legend. He is Michigan State basketball here. But again, I don't care what the point spreads are. I don't care what the over-under is here. When these two teams get together on the hardwood here, records don't matter. So being the hometown guy, I like Michigan to win this one. You said they're like -1 or 2 points here. None of that stuff matters to me. I'll bet Michigan to win this game outright in a game here where in a way they probably need it just a little bit more than State. Both teams might make both teams probably will. Again, Michigan State absolutely will make the Big Ten tournament or the NCAA March Madness tournament. But when these two teams get together right now, it doesn't matter. Give me basketball and watch these kids just go nuts against each other.
Yeah, you look at this game, you look at it and breaking it down. Michigan State's been committing quite a bit of turnovers. I know they're not happy with their turnovers. They had that 12-point victory over Nebraska. They committed 19 turnovers. The time before that, had Northwestern. They committed 15 turnovers. So I know they're going to want to do better with the ball. They're just living on the edge there. I think that is something else. And Michigan needs to start guarding that 3-point line a little better. They've been getting beat quite bad, quite handily there. I know 50% shooting here in their last game against Rutgers. But yeah, Chris, I mean, in this one here, it always just seems like the home team wins. I mean, this is definitely a public spot that everybody's going to bet on Michigan State. I think I'm just going to stay away from it. I'm just afraid of of just how poorly Michigan's been playing. Hunter Dickinson is obviously the main offensive weapon here for Michigan. So we'll see if they get him involved. Hopefully he stays out of foul trouble. But Chris, I mean, we don't have to bet on every game. I got enough invested being a fan and having all my Sparty buddies text me. Obviously, this is a day that we all like to give each other shit. Michigan State is going to be phone in hand. They are going to be wanting to give all us Michigan fans all the grief that they can give us today if they're smashing us. Obviously, that there's still some animosity there from football, which is great. I mean, that's what the whole fun part of it is. I mean, I love giving my buddies crap all the chance I get, that all my Sparty friends. But, yeah, so that one's exciting. We get that before we get those NFL games, Chris. So maybe we'll have a best bet for this one here. But this one here for me, though, Chris, is one that I'll probably just sit back and watch. But we got two other local teams that are playing, though, Chris. We got the Wings playing actually in L.A. We had that Anaheim game canceled the other night right before the puck was to drop. So they get Los Angeles tonight. I think they got a quick bounce back with Anaheim tomorrow on Sunday. So Wings out there traveling to L.A., Chris. I know they generally don't do too well when they're out there on these West Coast. But you're the hockey guy here. What do you think of these Wings here facing this team out there in L.A.? I just really like watching these guys here, Chris. I think the Yzer plan is working. Kind of looking here, we're looking at about over under 5.5, and it looks like L.A. minus 149 here. So, Chris, what do you think? You think this game could go over? What are you thinking here in this Red Wing game?
Yeah, I like the over first and foremost, but I want to say that LA, as it stands right now, I believe it's way early in the season, but I always check that stuff, even with football and basketball. Just you get a glimpse of the playoff picture, because then that kind of, to me personally at least, that's like a piece of the puzzle as I go about my day on a daily basis and a weekly basis in terms of my notes and my opinion here. If a team is too far back like the Buffalo Sabres, what's the point in even trying to kind of, take them with the points or them with the goals here? But when you look at this, let me bring this up. I have it on my phone. Kings last 4 games, they're 2-4. They lost to Vegas, they beat Vancouver, beat Philadelphia, back-to-back games, and then they lost against Nashville. Now the Wings, they're 1-2 their last 3 games. They lost to Washington, lost to Boston, and they beat a very up and coming young scrappy San Jose Sharks team 6-2 last time out. And I know, not trying to get ahead of myself, but tomorrow on Sunday they're playing Anaheim, which was supposed to be a day or two ago. So West Coast trips have long been a thorn in the Wing side here when they go out that way and they play here. But to me, when you look at Dylan Larkin, 16 goals so far this season. Andre Kempe, 14 goals on the King side of things. And then Lucas Raymond, 19 assists so far this season in comparison to Anze Kopitar. Kopitar's got 20 assists. He's been an anchor, a center anchor in that LA Kings line for a long flipping time. And then I know a lot of old hockey slappies, we still talk about plus minus. Some like the younger kids, the younger generation, they don't care about plus minus, but it tells a tale here. Plus minus is if you're on the ice when a goal is scored, you get a plus. If you're on the ice when the opposing team scores, you get a minus here. And if you look back through history of hockey, what's his name? Nicholas Lindstrom was just famously plus. He would end the season plus 50, plus 60, always in the lead here. Tyler Bertuzzi, plus 13 throughout the season, 15 goals, 9 assists. And then Brad Lemieux, I don't know if he's related to Claude, but if he is, we'll let Darren McCarty know. But Lemieux plus 8 here, so not doing too much there in terms of that. But then I also love the goaltending matchup here. Jonathan Quick, 10 wins so far this season, 2.4 all goals against. And then the young kid, Nedeljkovic, 10 wins, 2.85 goals against here. So as the season has kind of progressed here, we've had Thomas Greiss in there a little bit, but I think Yzerman and maybe the coaching staff in general has has seen, that this Nedeljkovic kid, he can get going when he's on the ice, because it's probably tough for an NHL goalie to play every 4 games, every 5 games. Can you imagine a goalie rotation like the major leagues? These guys pitch once every 5 days, or they're in goal every 5 days. I know McCarty knows Osgood or Mike Vernon. I know some goalies in my day here, and these guys, these kids, they're creatures of habit. They need to be on the ice in goal all day, every day, whether it's, live game action or it's in practice here. So I love the idea of Nedeljkovic just getting start after start after start. He's a young kid. He can handle it. Let's get it going here. And when you look at the league rankings in terms of goals for and goals against, LA 22nd overall in terms of giving up goals, Wings 20th. So the more you dig into this matchup, I tried to paint a picture of comparisons here. The more you dig into this game, they're quite evenly matched here in this one. So I love the over here. In all honesty, I could see this game being 5-4 final, something along those lines. I like the Wings to win. Why not? What kind of dummy would I be here on a Saturday morning or afternoon to just talk all along about the Wings and then say, no, but I think they're going to lose here. So I think the Wings can get it done here, whether it's 4-3, 5-4, something along those lines. Give me the over and give me the Wings on the money line, which should be, you can make money there. If LA is the favorite at minus 140 or 170, however you put it, then the Wings got to be at least plus 125 or something. So give me the over and give me the Wings money line here, Scott.
Yeah, Wings are actually plus 130 in some spots. I mean, you look at it here, the over is 5-0-1 the Red Wings' last 6 games playing in the Western Conference, and especially when they are an underdog. The over is 7-1 in their last 8 games as a underdog, so they have been giving up some goals. The Kings are very tough against our division. They're 10-2 in their last 12 against our division. But Chris, I was looking at these games. They haven't played LA since December 15th, 2019. Literally over 2 years, we have not been out to LA and played the Kings. But this one here, I think I'm going to agree with you. I do like the over in this spot. We've been talking about some props and stuff like that. If you want to look at guys to score, I do like Dylan Larkin, obviously. Our best goal scorer. I'm going to look at him. But, I think this one here is a game that tomorrow, especially the Wings, have also struggled on the second day of back-to-backs. They've been giving up goals at a pretty alarming rate. All those games so far this season have gone over, so another one. So I think both these games today and tomorrow, Chris, are going to have some goals scored. I like what you're thinking there, like a 5-4 total. But, exciting to have the Wings finally showing some promise, Chris. I think the Wings are going to pick up some momentum here with the fan base. I think people are starting to notice the young Red Wings down there are on the right track here to hopefully getting back to starting a new streak here for the playoffs and continue for that to happen. But Chris, we do have one other here local team to play. Obviously, that is the Pistons. Before we get out of here, but make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button over there on YouTube. We definitely appreciate that. And Chris, before we get to the best bets, we do have a Piston game to look at here. The Pistons are, they've been struggling their last 2. Man, they just absolutely got mollywopped after that victory they had out there in Milwaukee. These last 2 games, they've been just getting smashed. They got Orlando coming into town here. I mean, Chris, both teams are around 17-22 against the spread. Both teams struggle, about the same record, 7-32. We got 2 teams bottom of the barrel here. But I think this one here is a good spot. Maybe the Pistons can get it right. So I'm going to be looking here for a Piston victory. I think a guy like Franz Wagner is a guy we're going to have to look at. I don't know if he's questionable. I know he's got a little bit of an ankle issue. We still have some of the main guys here, been out for the Pistons. Livers. So Grant's been out. So definitely struggling there. But I like this Cade Cunningham and Sadiq Bey, how they've been playing. I think that's somebody we're going to have to look at. Orlando's just got so many injuries here with Fultz and Wagner and Lopez and Suggs and Moore, and all these guys are questionable. So going to have to pay attention. I know we're doing this early in the morning, Chris, all these inactives and actives for the NBA. So it's really tough for us to gauge exactly what's going on here. But, I don't know. This one's pretty tough, Chris. The NBA has just been so tough to handicap, especially with DFS. You really got to keep your ear to the ground before these slates kick off. So, Chris, I think for me, I probably won't be doing too much of the NBA action here. We obviously have these 2 NFL games and this big college hoop game here, but wanted to put a little bit out there for the people. Is there anything you want to add to this Piston Orlando Magic game before we get to our best bets?
Yeah, I thought no way you're going to get past your little segment here and not mention how bad both of these teams are. 7-30, 7-32. I mean, it's not good. When you look back at the Magic's last 5 games, all losses. But when you look back at the Pistons' 5 games, they're 3-2. They beat San Antonio and they beat Milwaukee in Milwaukee. I'm just going to guess here and say Giannis wasn't active. I mean, they must have not had their studs active if they beat Milwaukee 115-106 here. But let's look at some league rankings briefly here in terms of points scored. Both teams are almost last. Pistons 101 points a game, 29th. The Orlando Magic score 102 a game here. That's 29th. Field goal percentage, awful. Free throw percentage, awful. 3-point percentage, awful. And then when you get a little bit of day here, it's 3-point shots made. Pistons have 25 in comparisons to the Magic 16th. So when you look total you go down the list. I hate to be like a jerk and talk like that, but this game is going to be wild. And I'll give you a best bet before we even get to the best bet segment. I'm not an NBA guy. I dabbled in DFS years ago, but for some odd reason, when you look through rankings and you look through numbers like this, sometimes the stuff just speaks to you. I don't know if you're like that as well, Scott, because you're a big time DFS guy and sports better guy. When you look at their average points scored a game, as I said, Pistons 101 and the Orlando Magic 102. If there's a way I can get a bet in for the final score, that's exactly what I'm going to bet. Detroit Pistons will lose 101-102. Those odds have to be astronomical to pinpoint a final score in NBA here. Anyways, I'll throw $5 on it. We'll see what we get.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes those long shot parlays, I mean, you don't expect them to win, Chris, but when they do, if you hit once every so often, we put up one of these big, huge odds. Yeah, I mean, it's always a little fun sweat. But yeah, good times always I like throwing a couple crazy parlays, 10, $20 at it, where you win some kind of silly money. It only takes one time, Chris, only one time in the season you hit something like that, boom. And I'm sure we all say that one time, when we're sweating it out. But too, and you get one of those big ones, there's opportunities to hedge and get yourself some money. I mean, that's always on the table too. But Chris, before we get out of here, let's give the people what they're here for. We obviously want to get some best bets for the day. We got those 2 NFL games today. We got that big college basketball game down there in Ann Arbor. But is there anything that stands out to you here today that we can give the people and get us some lunch money?
Yeah, 2 at the football game here. So any way you slice it, I think Kansas City wins this one, but I want to kind of, collect myself and just watch and rest that game. Or if you have a bet on it, I'll give that one to you. But I really like Philadelphia +4 here. People think, Dallas is just going to go into Philadelphia and just run over them. I mean, let's pump the brakes here. If all is true, as you said, and everything we read, if Dallas is just going to rest a bunch of their folks here, you're looking at them trying to stop Gardner Minshew in the last game of the season when Gardner is realistically looking for another spot next season. I think Philly, led by Gardner Minshew here, just air the sucker out. They're going to fall short in real life purposes, but I think they keep it closer. I think Dallas wins this one 27-24, but when you give Philly the 4 points, boom, the final becomes 29-28 in favor of Philadelphia. So give me Philly +4, and I love the over in that game as well. Dallas at Philly, over under as it stands right now, at least what I have in my notes, 42.5 here. I think they're well above 40, almost pushing 50 in this one. So give me the over in the Dallas-Philadelphia game and give me Philly plus the points in this one.
Yeah, I like it. I think, with this game here, I'm looking at 2 things here as far as for bets. I like the Kenneth Gainwell anytime touchdown here, Chris. I think that Philadelphia's going to have to run. I think that'll fit exactly to your game script as you were kind of mentioned. So Kenneth Gainwell on FanDuel is +115 to score a touchdown, anytime touchdown for the Eagles. So I think that one is a good one. And you mentioned these Denver pass catchers, Chris. I think Tim Patrick, I think you can get him or Jerry Jeudy around +350, +370 to score an anytime touchdown. So I think if they're going to be behind the Chiefs, I think they're going to play most of their starters. I'm not really a fan of Locke, but Locke have a tendency to focus on Patrick. So I think Patrick, a big guy, I think he's an opportunity to get a red zone touchdown. If you parlay Gainwell and Patrick together, you get 9-1 on both of them to score a touchdown. So I do not mind that at all. I think that is a pretty good one here, Chris. And then one thing I am going to look at today, I know I didn't like that college basketball game in Ann Arbor. But Chris, I think I'm going to look at the over, the 108, in that I think this game here is going to have some points scored. I think Michigan State is going to want to play an up-tempo type game. But so I like the over in the Michigan State game. And then I'm going to go with what you said there. I'm also going to take the Eagles in that Philadelphia and Dallas game. So, but I really like Gainwell to score a touchdown there. I think he's the guy that they're going to lean on. I've seen him in the past. He's a pretty good little back. So I think he's definitely a guy that I'll be looking at today. But Chris, is there anything you want to mention, anything you want to say before we get out here this Saturday and enjoy our Saturday, the last weekend of NFL football?
No, enjoy yourselves. Rest. If you go outside, put gloves or a hat on. The wind and the cold is like it burns your skin off. I don't want anybody with frostbitten fingers because then you can't use the bets we give on the show here. So bundle up and be safe and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, looking good. Appreciate everybody listening and seeing us today. We will be back tomorrow. Beer and I will be breaking down the final Sunday of this NFL season here. Lots of stuff we're going to have to pay attention to, so make sure you guys get in on that. As we mentioned, we'll be breaking down that for you, taking all your questions. So get in there in that YouTube chat and fire away. We'll be sure to address as many as we can. But for Beastie, for our boy Spencer Kareem behind the glass, this is Scott, and I will catch you guys tomorrow, and have yourself a good night.